We got another super chat from Superman Bass Fisher for $5. He says $170 million is the same deal they had previously. This is in regards to the AEW TV deal. I do not recall AEW getting paid $170 million per year. I do not recall that being the situation. But for those who don't know what we're talking about, maybe you're just tuning in now. Puck.com, a.k.a. John Orand from Puck.com, he came out and he says that barring any last-minute challenges or changes, the AEW TV deal looks to be around 4 years. 3 years are guaranteed, and the number floating around is $170 million. Okay, like I said, I don't recall AEW getting $170 million a year from Warner Bros. Discovery previously. I don't recall that. But what I will say is this, because it's super important. $170 million times 3, because 3 years is guaranteed, right? Guaranteed. That's $510 million. Let's say it cost $1 million to produce an episode of Dynamite. I mean, this TV deal is going to put AEW over. It's going to make them profitable finally. And I think one of the biggest things that needs to be talked about here is, and I read the comments and I talk about TV deals, this falls in line exactly with what I have been saying. I think anywhere from 100 to 150 per year would make a lot of sense. Let's say 170 is the exact number. I mean, this is going to make AEW a profitable company, and that's what they need. That's what they needed. They needed to get to profitability. I think wrestling fans, no matter what, I think wrestling fans, as soon as they found out that AEW was not getting $1 billion from Warner Bros., I think wrestling fans were going to use that as a way to talk poorly about AEW. But $170 million is quite impressive, right? There's a lot of people talking about ratings and low attendance, and yes, I agree, the ratings have gone down, the attendance has gone down, public interest has gone down. But I have been saying since day one, AEW provides live content 52 times a year just for Dynamite. That doesn't include Rampage and Collision. So they are producing so much content for Warner Bros. Discovery, and within their circle of advertisers, Warner Bros. Discovery feels like it is valuable. Wrestling fans can't seem to understand that or accept that. But the reality is, live programming is valuable. Now, my assumption is that AEW will not officially announce this with Warner Bros. Discovery until after the NBA thing is done. So I would say next week makes a lot of sense. Technically, the NBA, NBC, Amazon thing, I think that goes through Friday, the 20th. But I think by next week we'll get the announcement. $170 million is a great number. It makes AEW profitable. That's what they needed. It is not cheap to produce content, but it's also not cheap to get some of the talent that they're getting. But if you're getting $170 million per year, it goes to show you guys that what I've been saying has been accurate. Excuse me. It's not about the low attendance. It's not about the low ratings. It's about producing enough content that's valuable. AEW is not the number one company in the world. They'll never be the number one company in the world. I feel like they've hit their ceiling. Maybe that's a controversial take, but I feel like they grew as much as they can grow. The reality is there is a demand for live content, and AEW is consistently providing live content. And as long as they keep their actual fan base, they will continue being valuable. And I think it is very understood that AEW will never be number one. I'm sure Warner Bros. And I'm sure Tony Khan would want that to happen, but I think the reality is they know that's not going to happen, and that is completely okay, because you could still have a very lucrative business without being the number one in the world. So when I see AEW's new TV deal being a thing, it goes back to what I told you guys before, months ago. Expect AEW to be on TBS, TNT, and True TV. Expect them to have something going on with HBO Max. I've been saying that before AEW even signed with Warner Bros. Discovery, that you should get your hopes up because it's going to happen. And like I said, we're addressing the super chat. $170 million is not the same deal that they had previously. I do not recall AEW getting $170 million per year before. So you have to remember, $170 million per year, 3 years is guaranteed. But if they get the next year, that's $680 million. $680 million. That's impressive. So, what does this mean long term? I think you're going to see AEW overspend a lot because of talent. I think that is very possible. I think WWE is going to force AEW to overspend on retaining talent. That is true. I think you're going to see AEW pay-per-views on HBO Max or Max streaming service. But I think also at the same time too, it's going to be very, very similar to WWE. I think you're going to see AEW get away from certain deals. I can see AEW being restricted with Fight TV now. So the way I'm looking at this is that long term, AEW has a new home. And then, by the way, you got to keep in mind that AEW very well could be in a situation where they end up signing another TV deal with Fox or whoever else wants AEW Shockwave. And that deal will be a lot less. It's not going to be 100 million. It's not going to be 80 million. It'll probably be like 30 million, 40 million. It will probably be on the same level as NXT and the CW. So, this is good for AEW, bro. I don't know how anybody could look at this as a bad thing. It's actually a good thing for pro wrestling. It's a good thing for pro wrestling. And then what I want to see happen after this is TNA get a better TV deal. And TNA will not even get anything remotely close to what AEW is getting. Nothing remotely close. But TV networks want wrestling, and they're willing to pay for it. And I think that's a really, really good thing, man. Really good thing. My predictions for AEW has been 100% accurate since long before AEW even went on television. And I'm super glad to see that it actually worked out for them. Whether I like the product or not, it doesn't really matter. The point that I'm making is that it's a beautiful thing to see that another company was able to do this.